Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Well? Yes. Oh, good. Great. Of course, the mic on the computer is broken, so I have another one here connected. It's a good one. Hope you all hear. So my name is Zenki, and I'm from Iceland. And I have been Kwang Rosie's student since, I think, 1997. And I've been on the mountain many times, and of course, lately it has been impossible to come over because of the pandemic, of course, and the situation is same here in Iceland as in the States. So this photo behind me, it's fake. It's not this good weather in Iceland right now. It's taken in the summertime. So because this month, this time of the year, it's the most difficult, traditionally most difficult time. And this month is called Thorri, and it's the is associated with what's it called, to endure. Thorri, and the next month is Goi. That's the old the Norse names, a name of the month, Thorri, and it's really cold, and I was just thinking. This morning I gave a talk at the Icelandic Sangha, and I was talking about how difficult it must have been to live in a maybe house made of stones and soil somewhere in the mountains in Iceland, where there's incredible weather conditions. Because it's very harsh conditions, and I wanted to just, because this is kind of the theme of the Anko, is what is it, living in uncertain times, or dealing with uncertain times. Today we have to deal with uncertain times as always. And it made me think, is there anything that could be called certain times? It's a good question, because this is our search for happiness. It's always looking for a break. So like a ship in the harbor. So we want to be safe and to be not exposed to life, I guess. And we want to be happy, and then the question is what is happiness also, and how can we be happy actually? It's a little bit to Iceland again, because I have a little poem. It's an old poem in Icelandic. It's about the actually conditions of this month, Thorin. It's the February. I think it's it's the 21st of January to 21st of February, something like that. And then I have another poem which is called The Human Route. And it's an old Zen poem. and it's about life and death. The question about life and death, it's a fair question, I think. And then I have something, if we have time, I think we have something like 35 minutes for my talk, and then if you want, you could have some questions if we have time. So let me just read the poem for you in Icelandic, and it's about uncertain times, I guess. And in Icelandic it sounds like this. Nú frost á fróni, frís í æðum blóð, kveður kuldaljóð, kári í jötun móð. Yfir Laxalóni liggur klakaþil, hlær við hríðarbil, Hamragil. Marar báran blá, brotnar þung og há, unnar steinum á, ild og grett og brá. Yfir aflatjóni æðrast skipstjórinn, harmar hlutin sinn, hásetinn. I know it must sound pretty strange for you guys, but I'll tell you a little bit about what it means, because it's also about living in uncertain times, and then we can compare it to what we call uncertain times today. So the first line, they read something like that. It's just a light translation. Now there's frost in Iceland, and the blood freezes in your veins. The wind recites a cold poem in his giant mood. The water is frozen, and the creek laughs with the blizzard. The waves of the sea are blue, and they break on the seashore, heavy and mighty, and with a terrible face. The skipper loses heart over bad fishing, and the sailor is sorry over that his share is small. Something like that. So it's I guess uncertain times must have been pretty different in those days. And it was the same for human beings all over the world. It was the struggle to survive, I guess, and all the people that have gone before us, they brought us this, what we have today. And when we recite the names of our forefathers in Zen practice, we also remember what they brought to us on the hardship they went through, so that we can also study and awaken to our lives, and then we can bring it on to other people and students. So in Iceland, it's always been pretty, and also we had the plagues, and you know, I think it was the smallpox. 1/3 of the whole nation was just died in the plague, and of course the volcanoes and earthquakes. And I remember when I was maybe I was maybe 6 years old. There was a eruption on islands just south of Iceland. They're called Vestmann Island. And it was all over the news, of course. And I remember my parents talking about it, and my grandmother. But at the same time, 32 sailors had drowned that year, and it was not in the news. So I think when times they change and our perception of hardship and enduring and then what is really uncertain times, it changes. Now Icelanders are complaining because they can't go to Spain 3 times a year, and that's the main difficulties today. They're different because they go golfing in Spain or something. And I you know, it's okay. I mean, of course we should enjoy, but sometimes I feel when I think about life and death, I think it's not so bad. And the virus, it's not spread with mosquito or rats or anything like that, or it's spread by us, by our way of living. So by putting things in perspective, it's okay, because we live in a world that's already okay, even though it contains life and death. So I wanted to say tell you about the other poem, which is not so terrible. It's the human route. And it's Dai Sansenam, the Korean Zen master. It appeared in his book, The Compass of Zen. And I think he used it and recited it a lot with his students. And well, let me just read it for you. Maybe you will have all heard it. It goes like this: coming empty-handed, going empty-handed, that is human. When you are born, where do you come from? When you die, where do you go? Life is like a floating cloud which appears. Death is like a floating cloud which disappears. The floating cloud itself originally does not exist. Life and death, coming and going, are also like that. But there's one thing which always remains clear. It's pure and clear, not depending on life and death. Then, what is the one pure and clear thing? It's a beautiful poem because it's very direct and it asks a very direct question at the end. I usually, because I'm the teacher of the Icelandic Sangha, and I during in the new year, beginning of the year, I write something on like a letter to the Sangha, and I post it on the internet, on Facebook. And I translated this poem, and then it was very good, and people were responding. What a beautiful poem and everything. And then one said, yes, but what is this one pure thing? And I was, because it was on the internet, I couldn't say. So I told him, well, I tell you when I meet you next time. And then I met him, and then he asked me again, what is it? Yeah, because people want to know, and it's, I guess, the oldest question. what is it? What is life and death? And so the first sentence, coming empty-handed, going empty-handed, that is human. And that's a very direct. And it's not difficult to understand, I think, because yes, we're born naked and then we die naked. There's nothing we can take with us. But yet, during our lifetime, we have a great tendency to accumulate things and to acquire wealth, money, and status, and only to have it, we have to leave it all behind when we go. And that's pretty clear. We don't have to practice for years to understand that, I think. But Danny DeVito in the movie Other People's Money, I think he coined it. He said, of course, when he was asked about what's the point of all this? Yeah, the point is the guy who has the most money when he dies, he wins. So I always remember it's a great sentence, because it reveals the stupidity of so many things we do, me included, of course. So when you're born, where do you come from? And when you die, where do you go? That's a good question. That's maybe not so easy. So because the poem says that life is like a floating cloud which appears, and death is like a floating cloud which disappears. So the conventional way of thinking of life and death is that where's my hand? We born at a certain point, and then we get a birth certificate to prove it, and then we live until a certain point, and then we die, and then the death certificate is issued, and then that concludes our life. So we think, or we say that we appear, and before death, before birth, it's we say it's nothing. I wasn't born. And then after death, there's again nothing. So we have this period where we say we are alive and we are something. But if we look at the cloud and we study the cloud a little bit, and we try to understand how the cloud is formed, what makes the form of clouds. So of course it's a vapor. It becomes dense, and then depending on the heat from the sun and the dynamic between the heat and the cold, the cloud is formed. I'm sure someone could explain it in more detail, like scientifically. But anyway, if we say a cloud is formed, was it nothing before? Or was the cloud, before the cloud took this form, can we say it became from nothing? No, we say it comes from conditions that come together, and when certain conditions are right, something appears. And it's made of elements that were already there, so we cannot say that there was nothing there. And the same is true for the cloud when it rains or snows. It doesn't, the cloud disappears, but it doesn't disappear from something into nothing. So when we look at life more closely, we see that everything is connected. It's constantly changing. And it never stops to become something. It never comes into existence. Not like we think of existence. Our behavior and the way we behave in our ignorance, all this behavior is from the belief that everything is separate. And this ignorance, it accumulates. It's when millions, and I don't know how many people, with just so many people who are ignorant about life and death, and that it becomes a huge problem for the whole of Earth and humanity. So it's very important, I think, to look very closely at life. I brought a bell. It's a bell, and it's something to hit the bell. And when I hit the bell, there will be a sound. So I ask, where is the sound? Is it not existing, or is it already here? If I bring certain conditions together, we'll have sound. When certain conditions come together, we have a human being. When certain conditions come together, we have a cloud, and we have our whole world. The nature of the world, the whole world, is the nature of no birth and no death, because nothing disappears. So I bring together, I don't know if maybe the sound will be distorted on Zoom, but I bring it together anyway. So here's the sound. Oh, where did it go? Where did the sound go? Where is the sound? It's a good question. And if I'll make another sound. Is it the same sound? Did you hear the sound, or did Zoom compress it? You just heard a little bit. Yeah, that's enough. That's you know, if you hear, usually Zoom just compresses the sound, so it's difficult. But anyway, is it the same? Is it the same sound, or is it a different sound? Well, it's both the same, and at the same time it's different. No consecutive moments have ever been the same. So the whole world is vibrantly expressing itself right now, right here. And it's your life, it's you. It's difficult to, I know it's a lot of, because we're something we can say, but it's difficult for humans to be something that they cannot say, because we want to explain. And it's, you know, and we lose ourselves in explaining. And that's what feeds suffering, when we are always explaining. That's why we do sasan, because there's no explaining. And the poem goes on like this: the floating cloud itself originally does not exist. Life and death, coming and going, are also like that. Can anything ever come, or can anything ever go? Where should it, where could it go, or where should it come from if everything is here? Tathagata is coming and going. It's just like coming and going. The whole world doesn't go or doesn't come. It's just as it is. So because it appears that someone is coming when someone enters the room. We say someone came, but it's always like now. It's just always now. There's no room for coming and going. So life and death, coming and going, are also like that. They don't exist. So, but the question remains, but there's one thing which always remains clear. It's pure and clear, not depending on life and death. Then what is the one pure and clear thing? It's great, isn't it? I think when you try to answer the question, you're already in trouble. But that's maybe why. That's why in sasan we don't try to answer the question, but we know that we are it. So there's no need to try to explain. I wanted to let me just see. And also I've been, maybe I read something, some token for you, because I've been reading Shoji, and because I've been thinking about life and death. And Shoji is about life and death. So I'll read just a little bit. It's a short chapter. And he says, searching for awake awareness outside of birth and death is like pointing your cart north when you want to go south, or facing south when you want to see the Big Dipper. Acting like this, the causes of birth and death will increase and you will lose sight of freedom. So when we try to explain, we are already suffering and we lose our freedom. Discover that birth and death are themselves vanishing beyond conditions. There's no birth and death to be avoided, and unconditioned freedom is always already here. Realizing this, you will be free from birth and death. So when I read like token, it's I try to remember when I don't understand. I always come to my breath. I just feel myself. I feel the feet on the ground, and because that is what he's saying. It's not the words. It's a finger pointing to the moon. It's always about your life. Everything is about your life. So it's the simplicity of life when you don't think about it, and then the complexity when you think about it. The simplicity is like everything, there's no hindrances. It's just everything is right. So, and also I think we're out of time, but maybe we'll have just a little time to read a little bit Kobunsino, which is commenting on our sasen. It takes a few minutes, and if we have time for questions, we can. And this is Kobunsino from his commentaries on the Heart Sutra. And just a passage there that really caught my attention, and I'll read it for you. And this is maybe some of the English. I think the person the person who wrote it down when he was just talking, and his English was, he was giving a talk, and I think it's not hasn't been corrected, but it's pretty good. I'll read it for you. Your individual body, the continuing experience of being an individual, remains very, very important thing. Your physical body and how you live is the only chance you have to express the truth. Our sasen becomes a very important thing when we come to this understanding. The body is very important, but sometimes you can feel it is a slow, heavy thing to take care of. If I want to feel heavy at any time, I can feel like a heavy stone, expanding my sensitivity and becoming very heavy like a rock. Even the air feels painful. Fortunately, I usually don't feel like the air is either light or heavy. We are living in just exactly the right world. I used to put a lot of importance on the mental and spiritual element in sasen, but more recently, I feel that exactly the same weight of importance is in my life body. If there's perfect awakening, it's not just for mind, it is for body too. At that time, the body cannot be something slow or dull. The whole body is one intuition. It's a very fast thing. You cannot catch it or grab it. For this reason, practice contains all. The practice time contains realization in it. If realizing you forget that you're practicing, you don't feel that you're striving. You feel this is a natural thing. As well as seeing and listening, which we call mind, through various organs, the body is a very intuitive existence. To put this body and mind in some physically stable place and keep this position maybe 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 3 hours, when you keep it still, then a marvelous thing happens. You realize that that is a very important posture. When you're moving, you perceive things which your mind cannot contain. But when your body stops, then you know how you can begin to accept things as they wish to be with you. When we are moving with others, unless we move with exactly the same speed, it is very difficult to know each other. So completely, you offer your mind and body for the time of sasen, and let you be like that, and let things be as they go. What will happen is not promised. Okay. So let me see. It's 20 minutes to 12. I don't know. Do we have time for questions or maybe not? I don't know.
Yeah, if anybody has a question, they can ask.
Yeah, if you want to comment or say something, or you, I would be happy to say something. But if not, it's okay, of course. I just see many familiar faces, and I miss you all.
I have one question for you.
Oh, okay.
When the man asked the second time, what did you answer him with?
Yeah, it was a man in my choir, so we had a little discussion of it. But I think I said it is something that allows you to be both be to live and die. Something has to be there for these things to happen, and what is it? And he accepted this answer that for us to live, something has to be there. Some conditions has to be. And for us to die, something has to be there, some conditions. So living is a condition, dying is a condition. It's complete, it's a complete world. Dying is complete, living is complete. So it's good to even, I think we can discuss these things with people, even though they haven't, because of course we have all tried to understand. And when we're not so young anymore, this question becomes very compelling. And if you haven't asked this question, and you're getting, when we get older, and then it becomes very difficult, I think. So we don't have to die to awaken to our life.
Zenki, this is
Yes.
So I thought you said it was a man at the choir, and then
Yeah.
an answer would be, okay, if that's so, let's sing together.
Yes, that would be a good
another
one, of
answer.
course. Of course, music is a wonderful expression of life and death. But the problem is, like, when we express ourselves and then we go out to our cars and we drive home, and then we're in the same situation again. So this question and this answer that has to cut through all your life, not just singing, but driving, being sick, being happy, all these things. This question is there because everything is there always. And of course, it's easy to say yes when we're singing. It's difficult to say yes when we're sick, when we feel bad, when our body is heavy. It's very difficult to say, to realize. But those difficult moments, they are a great opportunity to uproot our ignorance, I think.
A comment? Is it welcome? May I make a comment?
Oh, of course. Yes, of course.
Hi, Iceland.
Hello, USA.
I heard something powerful the other day. This person felt that they had to pray all the time. At work, when you're walking, when you're doing the dishes, it just keeps your awareness on prayer and that connection. And I thought that's it right there. That's very powerful.
Praying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, in Buddhism, it would be different, but maybe a mantra or something like that. But it just, I had one job where I did that every single day, the entire time I was there, 3 hours, let's say. I prayed the entire time, and it kept me connected, and it kept me, it was like a need. I had to feel safe. It was, like you said, when you're sick and your awareness sharpens, then there are things that sometimes come up that you end up doing that that weren't planned, but that are powerful, like prayer. For me, it's prayer.
I guess it's depends on your attitude behind the prayer. If the prayer is about that you wish this situation was different, and then I think those kind of prayers can be a source of great suffering. But if your prayer is to accept this moment, then you can embrace your life, and then you can find peace. And so it's might not be so dependent on the words, but your breath can be a prayer. Your body and your the way you perceive. If you face it, if you face your life with and you wish you would be able to just do the dishes and just stand up or just sit down, and then you can do it. But I think maybe often prayers have their roots in our wish that this moment would be somehow different. I think that's might be why we don't pray about that, but we wish we have we aspire to save all sentient beings. We have that could be seen as a prayer, or vows, or the four bodhisattva vows could be some kind of prayer. You wish you're wishing everyone to realize their true nature. That's a good prayer. That's a good wish. Yeah. Is someone else maybe, or? I'm hoping that I will be able to come this summer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put those elements together so it will happen. Because it's been, I think, 3 years. Yeah. So if there are not any more questions, I think we can just chant together the finishing verse. Merit of this penetrating to in all places, so that we with all sentient beings together realize the Buddha way. Rosie and Cinco. And deep gasho to all of you. And thank you for having me with you today. Have a good day.
Bye, Zenki. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
See you,
See you
Volk.
later. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.